So Fremont factory has been closed since March 23rd. Tesla's lawsuit against Alameda County was filed on May 9th, and on May 11th, California Governor Gavin Newsom said this.
Relates to Tesla, I have long been a strong advocate and supporter, early adopter, the technology. I have not only known that company, but I've known its founder for many, many years. I have great reverence for their technology, for their innovative spirit, for their leadership, and I have great expectations that we can work through at the county level the issue with this particular county and this company in the next number of days.
And Elon said thanks to him on Twitter.
Then later Monday, Elon tweeted, Tesla is restarting production today against Alameda County's rules. I will be on the line with everybody else. If anyone is arrested, I ask that it only be me. And then it appears that Alameda County Health Department backed down a bit and allowed Tesla to reopen with reduced staffing. And it's important to note here that Ford and GM are also gearing up to reopen their factories this week as well. So it's not like Tesla's the only company that
in the world that's reopening their production.
There's many states that have allowed big companies to reopen as long as there's essential. So this wasn't like he was alone. And in fact, as he pointed out, GM and Ford were allowed to open before him.
And Tesla had been planning to not open with all the workforce coming in. It was going to be about a third anyway. So, I mean, Alameda County basically said that Tesla could open exactly the way that Tesla wanted to open while still following the guidelines that Tesla set out in their 38-page document about how they were going to open safely. This is with providing masks, other personal protective equipment, lots and lots of sanitation, changes to the airflow of the HVAC system, temperature screenings entering the building, exposure tracking, lots and lots. And I mean, that's not even the half of it in this document that they had put forth.
But what upset me the most was that in the media, you had all these clickbaity headlines that were running that were like, Elon doesn't care about worker safety.
Right.
And it's like, he announced that you didn't have to go back to work if you didn't want to. And then there's articles like this one, published by NBC News on Wednesday, that workers were being pressured to go back to work.
So the article cites one person, Jessica Narrow, and here it is, quote, Narrow said her supervisor told her over the phone that if she chose not to come back as directed, she could be terminated. However, she said she got a different message over email, which didn't include any mention of termination. It said she would no longer be eligible for unemployment insurance, but that she could use unpaid leave without being penalized if she didn't return to work. So to be clear here, there's no actual evidence that her supervisor threatened to fire her. It's really her word against her supervisors. So there's no, call there. This is the one example that this NBC article has.
Well, and the other thing the supervisor told her was that if she didn't go back to work, she could lose her unemployment benefits. And that's true. And that has nothing to do with Tesla deciding that.
Right.
Unemployment is for people who lost their job due to no fault of their own, like if a company is doing layoffs. But if you quit, or if you're fired for cause, then you don't get unemployment. And that's across the board at any company.
But let's talk about losing unemployment benefits. So Tesla did send out an email to all employees basically outlining how they were going to return to work. They cite their return to work document. They talk about people who are coming off of furlough, what's going to happen, and basically that you can choose not to come back to work, but you are no longer on furlough, which means that you can't collect unemployment benefits.
Right.
Because as you just said, you're no longer unemployed, you have a job waiting for you.
Right. And I want to point out this would be true if you were, let's say, a lumberjack, and one day you decided that, hey, it's too dangerous to be a lumberjack. I could get hit by a falling tree. I don't want to be a lumberjack anymore. Great. You can't go on unemployment for that because you chose to quit your job.
Right.
That's just how it works. I mean, if the lumberjack company laid you off because there were too many lumberjacks or something, then you can get unemployment.
Right. Or if you chose to keep your job but to not go into work. Maybe your boss said, okay, I understand you're going through a rough time. You don't want to come into work because you don't feel that it's safe. Maybe we're on some side of the cliff face that you think isn't safe. But you're not going to be able to claim unemployment for that. And if your employer doesn't decide to give you paid leave, then you're not going to get any pay.
Right.
That's that's just the way the system works. There's definitely options and avenues to change the system. Maybe we are going to come up with some kind of new way of, hey, if you don't feel comfortable, then companies are going to have to make some kind of system by which you are allowed to work from home. But if you're like a factory line worker, I don't see how that's even possible.
But going back to the media, we got this real rift this week of people on one side or the other of this issue. And we're going to talk about more of that on our Patreon bonus story because it's something that's really important to talk about.
It's really important to get this information out, and you are vital to doing that.
When people hear about information from someone they know and trust,
That's you.
they are much more likely to listen and act.
So share this clip with someone you know today.
You'll feel good knowing you made a difference. Now you know.